This is the story of how one recklessly determined duelist fought for 20 years to finally face his childhood dream of becoming the very best like no one ever was. How far I got, what I learned, and whoever I am in the aftermath. Whether you're a fellow duelist or you've never heard of Yu-Gi-Oh, I hope you'll get something out of this look into someone else's world. Like most of my tournament experiences, this video says more about the players than the game. So here I am after YCS Hartford, apparently the most successful Crystal Beast player in the world, not that there's much competition, stumbling up to Yu-Gi-Oh's North American Championship with a strategy revolving around some obscure 15-year-old cards. If you saw my previous vlog, you know that the plan was to play in one tournament, in one last hurrah, just to turn some heads, but it spiraled into this dramatic mess. I built this absurd Crystal Beast deck with my friend Terrence over half a year, the key card finally released, but one of the other cards was suddenly banned. I frantically threw together something new, somehow won some tournaments, and now that I've mastered my new strategy, where we once thought the dream was dead, instead I'm stronger than ever. 2 strong tournament showings, and an invite to Nats. To celebrate coming this far, I did something every gay dreams of, dyeing my hair rainbow. Because of Rainbow Dragon, obviously, not because July is just Pride Month Part 2.
Go watch you. Looking around, turn your head, do a little giggle, on a head turn.
I'm definitely keeping that. Let's breathe. Here I am on a 20-hour train ride to Chicago 3 days before the championship. I'd be staying with none other than Char, who helped me get to this point, and who should really be getting royalty checks from this channel by now. He took Amtrak to get to me last summer, so this time it was my turn to learn why I will sooner die than ever use Amtrak again. Anyway, friends had put their faith in me, and invested in me. I couldn't let them down. And personally, competitive gaming in general has been such a huge part of my identity all my life. This was the climax of all those struggles and dreams. I'd be competing in the main event, and I hoped to meet 2 actors from the show, one of whom, sad as it sounds, was my best friend growing up as a lonely outcast. I would imagine attending Duel Academy, having friends who saw value in me, but mostly I just thought of the giant croissant waiting for me at the end of this 27-hour journey. I got a good mask and kept it on. Eventually my body accepted that we were just never going to be eating or drinking ever again. Yet when I arrived and Char asked what Yu-Gi-Oh was like, I forgot all about the starvation and couldn't shut up. Char does not play Yu-Gi-Oh, but he asked me to teach him a little. His idea. No one had ever engaged with any of my hobbies before. I'd never known such patience and curiosity. I can't sing this boy's praises highly enough. I worried so much over whether I could teach him, since I am as far removed as possible from knowing what it's like to not yet know this game, but he learned quick and won his first duel. For us, and I don't stress about vlogging it this time.
Oh, that would be an interesting choice. But then you wouldn't get any views.
I gave myself a week in Chicago, though nearly every day would be spent either at the tournament or recovering. On that first day, we toured the University of Chicago campus. Sure, my official business here was the championship, and I should have been drilling matchups or studying rulings, but I wanted to live too. UChicago has a maze of quads, each the most beautiful and tranquil sight I've ever experienced. I wondered how different my life might be if I'd gone here, if I'd been ready to leave home sooner. No time for dreaming, though. The show's about to begin. The first day was mainly for last chance qualifiers, so for me it'd be a day of practice. Except it wasn't, because the event started over 2 hours late. Let's get this out of the way. Despite being Yu-Gi-Oh's most important event in 3 years, the North American Championship was terribly mismanaged. You can pause here if you want the tea, but we gotta move. Luckily, I met someone who played one of my main decks, we had a good conversation, and he just happened to have a friend further up in the line. Average Konami event, he said at the backup. I think good company was a currency of its own this weekend. My goals were to play speed duels, and to win this mat featuring the characters from the show whose voice actors would be here. But now there was only time for one event, so I chose the fun of speed duels, in which the winners get giant cards. Speed duel is like a simplified remake of Yu-Gi-Oh, and wouldn't you know it, my Crystal Beast cards are so old and obsolete that they're available for use in this format. I even got to use the classic Rainbow Dragon. It was actually my first time playing speed duels in real life, but I believed in the heart of the cards and the big gay rainbow, which guided me to victory. And then someone pulled the fire alarm. You know, because this event wasn't enough of a mess already, so everyone's evacuated outside where all the tone-deaf Yu-Gi-Oh players start lighting up. Because what, these events didn't reek enough already? Anyway, most people just gave up for the day and left, but I went back to finish the tournament and claim my prize. The giant card. I hated it. Not something you want to be hauling around Chicago. I sold it on the second day, hours into trying to find a speed duel player I'd chatted with who mentioned wanting to win it. The bids on this thing were climbing to 500, but I wanted it to go to someone who was polite to me. He even got it signed by Aster Phoenix. I'm happy for him, and happy that the card's new owner has some good memories of it. That night I found some gossip about yours truly on the biggest speed duel Discord group. Sorry if any of y'all are watching, but I gotta say it, not a friendly crowd. It's like they took the most fun card game ever and decided to make it as toxic as possible. So like I said, we're moving on from this day. It was a lifesaver to have some emotional support to come home to very late every night thanks to Chicago's terrific public transportation. Vent, eat, sleep, get up and go. Thus begins the championship itself. 20 years of dueling, dreaming to become the very best. Here I am. It's time to prove myself, right? To everyone who said I couldn't do it, who mocked the cards I chose, who made me feel worthless even when I won. There were over 2,000 competitors, but only one plucky, rainbow-haired crystal duelist. Round 1, I drew one of the worst opening hands of my life. Totally bricked. Same for game 2 to a swift loss. But that's fine. I start every tournament by getting the loss out of the way. I don't need a pep talk from Terrence this time. I need to go have fun. Behold the mega duel! Need I explain more? Shamefully, I did not get a clip of this, but I played against Tavon, a dashing fellow who hammed it up just as much as I did, bellowing the whole way through like we're Yugi and Kaiba. I lost, and it was the most fun I've ever had playing this game. He used to be a judge for these events, but quit because it was too much work for too little pay. Tavon, if you're watching this, I love you and demand a rematch. The second round was announced, so I hurried off, paired against someone who Terrence actually knew. I promised I'd win for him, but I drew even worse. I lost even faster. The heart of the cards was not with me. I was ashamed, but look, it happens. I can reach an 80% win rate, but that doesn't mean I can't still lose 4 times in a row. It's not something to take personally. This is ultimately a game of random draws. Besides, all the game's most prolific players were here, and not many of them topped. I must have been moping around because I was called out to by Chandler, who I'd met in line on day 1. I didn't recognize him at first, but when you have rainbow hair and a giant card, you stand out. Which was helpful here because that meant people could find and remember me, building up friendships throughout the weekend. We figured if we're waiting between rounds, we might as well catch up standing in the signing line. Attending the event was Oliver Wyman, who played Aster Phoenix in the show, and the very first convention appearance by Matthew Laburto, who played the main character Jaden. That said, these lines were their own event, taking 2 or 3 hours of waiting. Only the first 100 get in to meet Jaden, and as destiny would have it, Chandler and I were numbers 101 and 102. But that meant we could be first for meeting Astro the following hour. Wyman actually ambushed us in line, amazed by Chandler's Pokemon shirt. He started doing his Zigzagoon voice from acting in Pokemon. I was on my phone thinking, who is this quirky old man? He does a great Zigzagoon voice. Oh, it's literally him! He was adored by everyone, just as excited as we were. But the main event is also going on, and you can't play your match in line. But with Chandler holding my spot, if my match ended soon enough, I could still make it. Well, my opponent was a staller, so we went into overtime, and I just missed my chance. Great! But hey, the line attendant and I were really getting to know each other at this point, so I could get a pass for the eventual next signing with both Jaden and Aster together. But the main event is still going on. I can't play in line, and does this sound familiar? If I stuck with it and just kept winning, I could still top. It happened at the regional, and nearly at the YCS, so here I was presented with a clear choice. Whether to suffer more slings and arrows for a bleak shot at glory, or to lay down my deck forever, leaving the tournament to meet my old friend. This wasn't just about what I'd do for the rest of the day, these were my dreams. The trophy or Jaden. 20 years to reach this junction. Why am I here? What do I want? What am I hoping for? When the dust is settled, who will I be? Will I regret the path I chose? I've won before. I was miserable. I've been the best, in more limited circumstances, but what would even the greatest glory bring me? A few interested glances from strangers before returning to an obscure anecdote, a chunk of metal to look at. I remembered what I'd been saying about YCS Hartford, about how I only enjoyed it because I had friends. So, should I choose friendship or victory? When I put it that way, I realized I don't want a title or a trophy. I want connections, people to care about and who care about me, and I wasn't getting that from winning duels. The friends I'd made didn't obsess over how many duels I was winning anyway. I chose to drop out. I came this far just to turn back. But this still wasn't over. Of course, it can't be that easy. I had time to sit down with Chandler and get to know each other better. We had some deep conversations. This was the climax of his time with Yugioh too, which had been a light in dark times for him. He was here from Louisiana with his girlfriend and best friend. I was relieved that someone so kind and empathetic had been blessed with such great company. He will make an amazing therapist someday, and I wish him every happiness. That was too genuine. Here's a fart sound. It wasn't all great though. I met Yu-Gi-Oh's kindest players, but but this game and the world are still full of thieves and other scumbags. Bad things happened to both of us that weekend, but the point is, we stuck together and reminded each other of what's important. We are okay. And we will be okay. Doing everything I could to make sure that my friend was okay made me late for the signing line again. But don't worry, your boy got in this time at the very end thanks to that rainbow hair and polite attitude. I don't regret choosing to drop from the tournament. Aster was delightfully full of himself, impressed that I was such a big Destiny Hero fan that I was the first to grab it as my screen name for everything back in 05. Then I got to thank Jaden personally for being my best friend growing up. He took my hands and thanked me. He apologized for taking so long to meet me, but I think we met at just the right time. I was freed from the main event, but still had to put my deck to use one last time in side events. Char overslept on the third day, but whatever. He wouldn't have gotten to join anything because events were still so backed up that I only got to play 2 matches that entire day. At least my deck was finally going off. My last duel was a tough grind, but I won thanks to some clever mind games and a card I'd been keeping just for this matchup ever since YCS Hartford. Somehow I just never faced those dang birds until the very end. For that, I won the very valuable mat with both Jaden and Aster on it, but too late to get it signed by them. Oh well. After I got some things signed for Chandler, he did get my championship participation mat signed by Jaden, so that's good enough. After finally getting my prize, I hurried to watch the hammy live duel between the voice actors. Too late for a seat with Chandler or Tavon, but it was fun enough to watch in a crowd. After that, I had a silly duel with Chandler's best friend, who played this wacky machine deck. He loved mine too. Neither of us could comprehend the plays getting thrown around. I did lose that one, but only because it's more fun to not read the cards. As the venue became sparse and quiet, I packed my bag, parted ways with my new friends, gave my prize tickets to the plasma guy, and I walked alone, without looking back. I was exhausted for the rest of the week, having walked 20 miles, plus the 5 days of fasting. I think I'm satisfied with how Yugioh has mostly ended for me. I met some good people, I went to interesting places, and I'm glad it's over. It's over, I'm done, I don't have to study the meta, or test decks, memorize combos. Well, in the time it's taken me to procrastinate this video, Crystal Beasts actually got a real wave of support after 15 years in their very own structure deck release, full of rainbows, so I had to play with those as a little epilogue, a reward for loving Crystal Beasts for so long. Playing in a small tournament just for fun was my worst experience yet. Playing in another tournament just for money, and I did turn a nice profit, was even worse. I tried some new motivations on my way out the door and just found more and more toxicity. Turns out my competitive drive wasn't distracting from the fun, there was none to begin with. Here I am finishing this up months later with another epilogue. I saw Terrence again, and we had a great time playing this game for fun, not letting it take over our lives anymore. He said that not having to lab and memorize our Sapphire Surprise combos anymore really has cleared up so much space in his head. I also brushed off Sapphire Surprise to win our annual Crystal Beast tournament. I actually enjoyed dueling again because we were all in it to have fun with friends. I'd gotten second place last year with this prototype Sapphire Surprise. Ugh, my deck and my head are in such a better place than they were back then. It's good to know that my friendship with Terrence has transcended the task that brought us together, and to know how much mental real estate I'll get back now that this vlog is finally finished and I'll have all the Crystal Beast things. I don't have to care about competitive gaming anymore. I was happier for quitting Smash and for tuning out Pokemon. I am done with all of that now. But who does that leave me? The pressure of competition and the shame of underperforming have caused some dark moments for me. But as you may have seen from my vlogs throughout the years, that's also also how I met many of my friends. Then again, at the local shop where I'd been playing Yu-Gi-Oh since middle school, although the owner's a great guy, sorry John, the crowd is deplorable. I don't have a single friend from my 15 years there. And after the screaming toxicity I faced when trying to play for fun, I am so relieved to never walk into your store again. It's my fault, I should have gotten the message sooner. I'm a prim and proper gay boy, whereas many Yu-Gi-Oh players are, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this, sloppy, rude, dishonest, predatory. Most of the racism and homophobia I've witnessed hasn't been at church. It was at those Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. For every player you want to meet, there are 30 you don't, repelling them. I would have found more friends elsewhere, but I can't get those years back. So what do? I can make things to show for my time. More crafting, more editing, more valuable skills. Not to say that competitive games are a complete waste, just once your mind has mastered the art of skill, they aren't games anymore. You either lose and you're a failure, or you win and have to keep fighting until you fail. So many Yu-Gi-Oh players just want to win at all costs. Win what? The fleeting attention of people you don't care about either? Like me for too many years, most don't seem to have thought much about why they're doing this. I think that's why so many Yu-Gi-Oh players are so hostile and disrespectful. You were lied to when you were told that you win by reducing your opponent's life points to 0. You win by making friends. You win by making memories to remind you of the good in the world. If you're not finding those friends fast, take it from me and do something else with your time. You'll find them someplace where you do belong. I do not want to win if it means I've made someone else lose. I don't like games that pick winners and losers. I want to build experiences where everyone is happy. I'm going to find my own path now, not destroy myself chasing after someone else's idea of success, whether that's a company telling me their product should be my lifestyle, or a dad telling me to become a lawyer. Apparently I already talked about this in my last vlog with Char. People who give up on their childhood dreams are not failures. We have just found something or someone better to live for. Here I am, no longer resolving to walk that path, but living it. Terrence and Chandler and even Char are the very best, like no one ever was. I'm going to pick up these broken pieces until I can say the same about myself. And you? What path are you walking? Why? Where are you going? Where does it end? And will you be happy there? If not, you can let go and turn back. It's scary, but we'll find a better path.